Let me do a quick call to order. Um, and I'm the committee members, all I see Dr. Thor, you are with us, correct?
Good
Dr.
morning.
Marini and myself, good morning. So with that, all committee members are present as well as appropriate staff who are going to help and assist us. Elsa has confirmed to me that I see no participants for citizens interim.
Correct.
Right. And we have no action items. And for the big people on the committee, this is a little more formal than we have run the committee before, but under the new guidelines, that's what we are required to do. So let's move right into discussion items. And Lauren and Abby, I'm going to turn it over to you for just a brief legislative update, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure thing. I have a few documents to share with you all today. We'll just kind of go through them. My objectives today are to update you just generally on where we are in our progress this session, and then to go over we're 9 days from our day at the Capitol. So to go over some, board specific details related to that event.
That
So
moves right into the second discussion item. So you can just roll right into it. So
wonderful. So first up, I will share that we are thrilled to share that we successfully passed our bill to expand the eligibility for our students to the Arizona Teachers Academy to 4 years through both chambers of the legislature with very, very, very few negative votes. It just made it through the Senate with only one, and it is now on the governor's desk awaiting her signature. We have every expectation that the governor will sign that, or at least no information to the contrary. So we are thrilled that our students will be eligible for the full 4 years of their degree beginning in the fall. And that concludes our non-budget focused agenda for this year. So now we pivot entirely our focus to the state's budget. And of course, we have, oh, excuse me, one single priority for that, and that is the restoration of Maricopa Community College's operating aid. And so I will now share our talking points document, which hasn't changed much in the time that's elapsed this session. I'm pleased to say that's really how we prefer to do things, is that they stay as evergreen as possible. So just briefly reviewing this document, and these talking points are increasingly relevant with our community college day at the Capitol, our Day of the Capitol coming up next week. So we are seeking the restoration of our operating aid formula funding. This should be our annual support every year from the state, and for 11 fiscal years now, we have received $0. We are looking to put that right. Our full aid amount is $28.4 million. You'll see the specifics of that down here in the fast facts section of this document. We are proposing a phase-in approach. Our proposal, which has been met with considerable support, is a $7.1 million restoration this year and each of the following 3 years. So across 4 years, we'll reach, that number changes a bit each year, so we may have to adjust a bit going forward, but so we'll be more or less made whole in about 4 fiscal years. That, of course, has many variables between now and then. I can't say exactly what will happen across one fiscal year, nonetheless, four. But what I can say is that we have received strong support in a difficult, broader budget year for the restoration of some of our funding. I can't say exactly how it will shake out, but I can say that we are only ramping up the pressure at this point, and our day at the Capitol will be part of that. So for the members of the board on this call, I would encourage you to just sort of refresh on our talking points going into that. And as it says in this document, any opportunity for a conversation on this subject is a good one. We will only be talking more and more and more about operating aid in the run up to the budget, whenever that may happen. Although, frankly, it's looking more and more like June, like it was the last 2 years. And so we will just keep the pressure on, and are very clarified in that focus at this point. So, any questions on this document, which I will circulate again to the full board in advance of Day at the Capitol? You'll see that tomorrow or at the latest Wednesday, a week out from the event.
Lauren, I think there's probably one obvious question, and it may be wrapped into what you're about to tell us about the legislative day. I presume there may be some key members of the legislature that you would like some of us to remind and visit with, and if so, you will let us know who those are and
Yes.
get us prepped. So, am
That's a
I?
great question. The great thing and the challenge of Day at the Capitol are one and the same, and that's that you never know who's going to come out of their office and walk through and actually have a conversation with us. And we are not scheduling individual meetings for a variety of reasons this year, both practical, logistical, and the legislature is barely meeting at this point, and so whether they would accept our meetings and actually show up for them or not is an open question. And so while we continue to do individual meetings as your GovRel team, we're not going to ask board members, presidents, or other members of the district team to do individual meetings on that day. We are going to put all of our effort into making sure that individual legislators come out and see all of the awesome programming that we are bringing to them, and we hope we'll have an excellent turnout. And we, your GovRel team, will be at the front of that event, spotting legislators and making those connections. I am going to go through the full plan for the day, but in that full plan, you will see that we will be circulating a lookbook, pictures, brief bios of every single member of the legislature. I know that's a lot of homework, but we also have every hope that we'll have a great many of them come out and visit us. And frankly, any conversation is very beneficial at this point. So we'll be talking to as many legislators as come out.
Questions from the committee for
Yes.
Lauren?
How many board members have confirmed?
Last I checked, actually, Elza may have a more concrete answer to this than our more current answer. The last I checked, I think there are 4 members um, attending as on the calendar invite, though that may not be the complete list. Elza, do you have any additional information?
Those are all I've received a confirmation on so far, the ones that are on the list, and yes, there's 4.
Okay, wonderful. So yes, good turnout.
Elsa, maybe you could share with Dr. Narini and Dr. Thor and myself who those 4 are. I'm guessing I'm looking at 3 of them, but to let us know who we might want to reach out to with other board members and just see if they are coming or encouraging them to come if they've just not thought to RSVP.
So I have confirmed Dr. Thor, yourself, Ms. Pamela Smith, our student advisory representative, Donna Davis, and Marie Sullivan. Actually, it's more than what I thought.
Okay.
And Dr. Narini, would you like for me to send you the invitation again, or?
Yes, if you could, I was just looking at my calendar to see if I had it, but
Okay.
apparently I don't. So yes,
Okay.
I'll be there.
We got that invite out very, very early, wanting to make sure that you had it, but that sometimes means that you say, "Oh, I have forever to deal with that," and you don't necessarily
Right. So
RSVP.
we have a good contingent. That's
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Narini. We need your smiling face there.
We're all good, does.
When you receive this operating aid policy brief, you'll see that there's also a quick sort of Q&A on the back side of that can help answer some of the questions that we routinely receive. So I won't belabor that, but just to know that you'll have that at your disposal as well. Now to go through, and I just want to make sure you can now see the Day at the Capitol event preparation packet. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So this is the packet that will be circulating to all of the board members who are attending our day at the Capitol. It will have all of your details and probably more than you care to know, but we'd rather you have too much than too little, and you can always ask questions, of course. The rough event schedule for board members, because we know how valuable your time is and we want to make it count, is about 11:30 to 2. That is when we're going to make the greatest push for legislators to come out and visit, because that's when we'll be serving lunch. Simple as that. We'll sort of lure them, and of course you'll have lunch at the event as well. You will have as much time as you are able to make from 11:30 to 1:15 to circulate through the tents, and we'll be, of course, flagging legislators and facilitating conversations during that time. And from about 1:15 to 2, we will have introductions on both chambers floors. We are going to sort of divide the members of the board to have several introduced on one side and several introduced on the other simultaneously. And so that way we cover all of our bases, remind everybody that we're there, and hopefully have a few more people come out to say hello at that point. We have a broad event overview just to clarify for everyone the purpose of this event, and really the reason that we're doing it in April as opposed to in years past when we've done it in January or February, is because our system's best approach is to have everybody talking about operating aid. We had hoped that by the time that we got to this event, our bill would be in the rear view and we would just be talking about operating aid. That has come to fruition, we're pleased to say. So that makes this event maximally valuable. We're just talking about budget. Legislators are focused on budget. And so this conversation will be well timed to be as well received as possible. And really for the GovRel team, it signals a whole new round of advocacy. You know, we're going to basically start over with scheduling legislator meetings, one-on-ones from this event forward into May, and then we'll keep the pressure on through June. And so we have all 10 colleges coming, and what we've encouraged the colleges to think about this event as, because it's very unique. It's not recruitment. It's not student facing in any way. It's really kind of special as compared to what they typically do. But we're basically encouraging them to think of it as a showcase. If legislators can't make time to come to our campuses and have a tour, well, this is as close as we can come to sort of bringing a tour of our most exciting programming to them. And so each of our colleges was encouraged to think about which of their programming they could bring and make interesting and engaging and exciting for legislators, hands-on, live on the lawn, so they only have to walk, a few yards to get there rather than scheduling a time and driving out to one of our campuses, though we certainly hope they do that as well. Perhaps in the fall we can get more of that, but this is sort of our opportunity to meet them where they are. And so again, because we're talking about operating aid, there's no one in our system, no one truly, who cannot effectively deliver that message. So we have everyone with these same talking points talking about, what we need is operating dollars, and every single thing that we have out on the lawn will be supported by those operating dollars at some level. So it all ties together very, very cleanly, very neatly, and every conversation is a good one. Again, this references the fact that we will have the full legislative lookbook, again, pictures, brief bios of all 90 legislators, highlighting, of course, leadership and other members who we really hope that who will come out and see us. So our very quick talking points targeted to this event. I am beating the same drum over and over. You're probably bored already of hearing operating aid, but that's what we're there to talk about. And so why it matters, the impact of that lost funding, very briefly, that is all captured here, so that, if you only have an elevator pitch's worth of time, you can hit these points and still make a big impact. And again, that's true from our board members all the way to our students and staff who will be there. The talking points are really more or less the same in terms of what we provide you. What you provide and what a student provide and what a faculty member or a staff member will provide is their own individual experience of our operations. And that's what's so exciting about this is we give you the baseline, but you're each going to interpret it and deliver it in your own way based on how Maricopa's operations have impacted you and what you've seen in our system, which is what's so cool about this message. So again, it goes over our brief request of a complete 28.4, but barring that, the proposed phased-in restoration of $7.1 million this year and hopefully across the next 3 years, if not more. If we can do it more quickly, we will do that. Some of these talking points, why it matters for your college, whether that's in your district or thinking about how it impacts the college will be a big part of this event because of course legislators and we will include in the lookbook which colleges are in their individual districts. They like to hear about their colleges and how this may impact them. So we will, we have the leaders of the legislature. This is just to give you an example of sort of the lookbook of the pictures. And so that we will be there, we will be pointing people out and giving you the introductions. But just so you all have a little bit of familiarity, we find just having seen the faces with the names once beforehand goes a long way. Getting into event logistics, this event is on Wesley Bullen Plaza, which I think you all have visited. Actually, I know the three of you have visited certainly in the past, but I think all of our board members have spent some time there. Public parking is just to the north of the highlighted event area on this map, with the Capitol being just across 17th Avenue. We'll be using this entire space. It will be completely full with our showcase of colleges, and then, district messaging, district branding, and food service, of course, because frankly, food is the point of this whole thing. As far as legislators are concerned, we just make sure to get our upside alongside it. So we'll include all of the details about parking and all of that in this information. This has some information that isn't relevant to you all about unloading. We're still cleaning things up to tailor them to the different groups that are receiving this. But that's the unloading area. And then just to go over our on-site layout that we've put together, I'm going to try to zoom in on this a bit for you so it's you can get a sense of this space. So on your left-hand side, you will see sort of the entryway. We'll have a large district overhead banner setting the tone for the event. And that's where your GovRel crew will be posted up, offering bags. And we have some custom branded items for legislators who visit, bags to collect the items that they'll get as they make their way through this circuit of all 10 of our colleges. On the upper part of this document, you'll see some of the larger kind of vehicle displays that we have alongside our lawn displays. EMCC is right at the front, and they are providing custom engraving on site, which is kind of cool. You can get your own little, whatever you'd like to put on a custom branded item. That's kind of a fun hands-on feature that highlights their makerspace, which is a really exciting part of our programming. You can see you can kind of make a full circuit of all of our tents, and then we'll be there meeting you in the middle for food. Make sure that everybody kind of makes their way around, and then food is just grab and go, since we don't want people using valuable time sitting and eating when they could be visiting all these tents. We'll give them the opportunity to walk through and then grab lunch and get going. And we'll have cookies and drinks as well. Yeah, it's we think it's we have made sure that each of our colleges is bringing something a little different. I think almost all of our bachelor's degrees are, and of course all of the programming that supports those is highlighted, or close to all of them. We have some exciting healthcare displays. There is our our horse because we have a horse, so why not bring a horse? But of course, that also, in addition to our equine sciences, it speaks well of our, Mesa's right next door, our veterinary science. There's nothing that doesn't tie into this message pretty effectively, and that's the joy of sort of offering operating aid as our priority. I'm just going to check. I think that yeah, that's the end of this document for preparation. We're still nailing down the final details on what will be circulated, but that's the basic overview of the event. What questions can I answer at this point?
Questions for Lauren? Just a quick process question, Lauren. You and I both know that sometimes what happens, sessions run into the time and our floor sessions are going. And oftentimes members will send staff members out to either pick up lunch or pick up stuff. And I'm presuming we've got a takeaway sheet or something that goes with lunch if the member does not
Oh,
physically.
yes.
Okay, you're ahead
They
of me,
will,
as
if they
always.
don't pick up 2 of those one pagers that we've put together, I'll be impressed because we will have them everywhere. You can see, well, on that map, you saw those black circles. Those are high top tables, each of which will have, I think, a placard with our messaging, as well as we have some takeaways. Every person who comes up will get a bag stuffed with our one pager. They really can't get away without getting our message, which again is why this is worth doing for our part. But I really can't emphasize too, like we know who the staff are generally. We will make sure that they're having these conversations too, because this conversation about operating aid, there's nobody who shouldn't be hearing it in Maricopa County and really even beyond. I think there's and you just never know where those conversations will lead. We continually are surprised where we bring this up and jaws sort of hit the floor, and then they say, "Well, I went to South Mountain. I didn't realize that was a concern." And lo and behold, we've got somebody sitting around their dinner table talking about it that night. So, and all the better if it happens around a legislator's office.
Other questions?
I just had a quick question. Last year, Farnsworth had some issues with one of our classes. Did we get that resolved? And when we talk to him, what can we tell him about it?
Yeah, Mr. Farnsworth is a supporter of ours, and I certainly hope he'll make his way out. Although I failed to say, and I should say, that even if legislators do not come out for us, we have prepared a bag, a custom item, and a one pager that will be dropped off at their doorstep in any case. Every single legislator will be getting our messaging either on this day or shortly thereafter. So just to make a note of that for you. I hope Mr. Farnsworth will walk out, and if he does, I believe he got the answers that he was looking for on that course and the textbook. I also believe that we may have made some changes to our supplied course materials as a result of that. His concerns were heard, and something that we understood was maybe not the right way of doing it, and I believe that was addressed. He also ran some legislation related to his concerns about those issues that we assisted, we provided feedback and got tailored in a way that worked for us, and that was passed last year and is currently on the books. So I think that's been heartily addressed, and I also our relationship with him as far as I'm aware.
Great, thanks.
Dr. Narini, you got your question generally
Yeah,
answered?
I think so. I just know that when I talked to him, just so I have something to say that, that we did hear it and we did make some of the changes that he requested. And we appreciate his support. So, yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Great. Any other questions for Lauren? Not Lauren, thank you very much for all of that. Then let's just, because I promised a short meeting, let's quickly just get to the final item, which is doing a presentation at ACCT's upcoming meeting. We have historically done one from the board and sometimes included staff members. Dr. Thor reached out to Dr. Gonzalez for a suggestion, and he came back with one that sounded like was actually a really good idea, which is to showcase and talk to other attendees about our Promise program, specifically the Billboard initiative at an MCC, and potentially others too, but starting at MCC is an opportunity for providing additional dollars for student success, which fits into their Impact Student Success track. So we've talked just briefly about it, Lindsay and I particularly, and she has graciously offered to help us, along with Elsa, help us fill out the forms. And I know that she has, in the past, her team has helped us do the slides as we created content. But we first wanted to see if the rest of the committee thought that was a good suggestion. And then if so, who from the board should be on the panel? And then I think one other question was, this seems like there may be not, in some cases we've had panels, as I just mentioned, that have had someone from our staff team who's been particularly involved in that as part of the panel. And if we think there is someone that we should turn to, at least for panel content or assistance in putting content together, or should actually come and be part of the panel. So I'm turning that back to the group for ideas and suggestions. We have lead time. I think the panel proposal is due beginning of May. Is that right, Lindsay? End of April? Somewhere in that, and that's less complicated than I thought it was. So, but I don't know. I know enough to be dangerous about that program. I know generally what we did, and I know the public, the outreach part that happened, that part I can speak to with great expertise, but I can't speak to the rest of it. So I'm looking for some ideas and suggestions on who we could turn to for content advice.
I'll just add the presentation is due in the middle of May. I have a few reminders later in April to, touch base and make sure we get it in on time. I do just want to point out too, the Chancellor is here. He's as an attendee. So Elza, I'm not sure if you can move him over as a panelist, or Mark, if you can hear me, because he might have something to add to this conversation as well.
I bet he would. But who can help us do that?
Okay, let us work on it. Hang on just a minute.
While we're doing that, I don't know at this point who's intending to go to that meeting. Dr. Narini, is that something that's on your calendar? I think you and I may be locked to go to that meeting because we're on committees, correct? I think he may be frozen. Dr. Narini, can you hear us? Doesn't look like. If you can hear me, Dr. Narini, we cannot hear you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
there you
trying
are.
to get you off mute. So yes. Yes, I'm
Okay.
planning on going to that. Yep.
Okay, perfect. I do not know who else from the board is going. I'm guessing Ms. Sullivan is, because she is the other person who has a committee assignment. So there would, at the very least, be three of us. I'm not sure that all three of us have to be in the panel, but I can't tell. Dr. Gonzalez, can you hear us? There you are.
Yes, I'm finally here. I've been in the meeting for 10 minutes and couldn't figure out how to unmute or even see myself on the camera, so I apologize for that. Thank you for getting that worked out, Elsa and Lindsay. What was your question, Mrs. Bittersmith?
So, well, your timing is perfect because we're talking about the potential panel at ACCT,
Okay.
and Dr. Thor relayed to me and others your suggestion about doing a panel about our
Mhm.
Promise program and Billboard program, all of that at Mesa, which we think is a great idea, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. So my question is, historically, we've, board members do the presentation. All of us know a little bit about that program, but we are not experts. So I think I would welcome your input as to who on our staff team can
Mhm.
provide us with some of the background information we need for content. And is there somebody from the staff that should actually join us on the panel to talk a little bit about the financial component or the partnership component?
Sure. Well, hopefully you'll have a new chancellor who can sit on that panel if necessary. I would also recommend considering Julie over at the foundation, because this is a really nice partnership between the organization and its foundation to create this Promise program. And so there are a few elements to it that are really impressive. Um, One, we took it from a small Promise program and we've grown that and kind of coupled all of the community Promise programs and other groups that have wanted to assist, and we've turned it into the Maricopa Promise program. We just had the first cohort of students that numbers around 800 students, and more than 90% of them um, persisted from the fall to the spring semester, which is outstanding. Typically, persistence rates are about 50 or 60% for a student who is just new to college and trying to make the move. The point is that we tend to lose most of our students from the fall to the spring semester transfer. And then there's the revenue generating aspect of it. The project that Mesa Community College took on with the city of Mesa to create the billboard, and that we're going to continue to look for other opportunities to feed this Promise program. So a lot to really boast about and a lot to talk about. And more than anything, it's just the number of partnerships that have come together, including the system and its foundation to make this happen. So either your new chancellor, your provost, and definitely someone from the foundation. Julie would probably be the person I would recommend since she's the president and CEO.
Okay, I will reach out to Julie. I know Janice knows a lot about that program, more than she'd like to know, I think, just the interaction of the business side of it. So maybe between Janice, if you can refresh my memory about part of that, we can put together some content there for some slides. I think it may be useful, Dr. Gonzalez, to your point about the broader issue of the Promise program, that probably is somebody from the foundation.
Sure. I mean, there could even be two proposals sort of related. One's about the Promise program and its success, and then there's this revenue generating opportunity. That could in itself could be another one, and how unique this is, or I don't know if there are any other systems across the country that are using billboards to generate revenue, and that's where you can get more into the process and legality behind that. So that's something to think about.
Um, I know from a manpower perspective, and I think typically we've only ever done one, just from the general, given who's going to the conference. But we can do that offline here, Dr. Thorne, figure out what you suggest we do, and then who we've got going that can make that presentation. But that was the idea, was to really talk about the Promise program and then segment out, because the visual of the billboard's pretty unique.
Yep.
And I think that creates a little bit of excitement to what's an important program, but a little more pizzazz with the billboard stuff.
Sure.
Dr. Thor, Dr. Narini, any objections if we proceed to kind of look at that and get that lined out?
Sounds good.
That sounds great.
Okay. And then Dr. Gonzalez, poor Lindsay, I think, is stuck working with me in a couple of the front-facing issues, and then between she and Elsa, we can get the proposal in.
Yep.
Make our request not to be in the very last day of the conference, and then figure out what we need to do for slides and graphics, and who actually does the presentation physically at the meeting. And maybe you just like to come as a visitor, right? And
Maybe.
help us.
We'll see. I may be there as part of my other role.
Well, that's true. We could draft you from the audience. We can prompt you with questions. But
Yeah. I'll show up at the citizens dinner room at that presentation.
okay. Just be nice to us.
I will.
Any other questions on this item? I'll do some legwork here, and we'll keep the group informed as long as you know what we're doing. So, with that being said, I have no further business on the agenda. Anything else, committee members? Lauren
may have shared, Mrs. Bittersmith, about the update on House Bill 2255. Did you do that, Lauren?
Yes, I did. That
Thank you.
it's awaiting the governor's signature
Well, what Lauren may not have shared because she doesn't like to brag about herself, but she got kudos this morning in our weekly AC4 meeting, where Nick Ponder congratulated and thanked Maricopa for spearheading that effort and telling all of the colleges across the state if they're now that their students will be able to benefit from the work that Maricopa led here. So thank you, Lauren and team.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to the full team, Janice for getting us all and Elsa for getting us organized to do this properly for ongoing meetings. Again, unless there's any further business, nobody's jumping up and down to tell me there is. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.